We'll go ahead and get started in just a minute. Maybe grab another drink and some food. Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone. I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone to grab your drink, grab some food, and come on. Join us at the front of the hall, please. Welcome to the Fall 2019 Academic Assembly. No?
We're assembling in the front of the room. Thank you.
Well, that worked. Well, welcome everybody to the Fall 2019 Academic Assembly. I appreciate you taking time out of your afternoons. It's good to see such a wonderful group here assembled. Great food, drinks, and great faculty. Go ahead, if you're probably recognizing, I am not Shirley Rose. I'm Donna Cataldo. I'm past president of faculty. Shirley, unfortunately, couldn't be here today. So I'm here on her behalf. So I want to just, on her behalf, welcome everybody, all our new faculty, all our returning faculty. I know it's a busy time of the semester, so I appreciate your being here. I'll go ahead and introduce our other campuses. We'll go to downtown campus. Samin.
Hello and greetings from the downtown campus. I am Simeen Levinson, the University Senate President for Downtown. I represent the College of Health Solutions. On behalf of the University Senate, we welcome back our returning and new faculty here at the downtown campus. We look forward to a fantastic fall semester that is now underway.
Thank you, Samin. And Yun over in Polytechnic campus, how are you all doing?
Okay. Greetings from the Poly campus. My name is Yun Kam. I'm a professor in applied mathematics of the College of Integrative Science and Arts, also president of Poly campus. And thank you for such a great event, and we are happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yun. And we'll go to West Campus and our president, Ken Sweat.
Hello, welcome back, new and returning faculty to the West Campus. I'm Ken Sweat. I am your Faculty Senate President, as well as a Principal Lecturer in the School of Mathematical and Natural Sciences. I look forward to having an enjoyable semester with all of you.
Thank you, Ken. And then we have here, of course, our Tempe Campus President, Carolyn Harrison. Thank you, Caroline. So again, Shirley couldn't be here today, but on her behalf, I want to just welcome everybody to the new academic year, and that reminding you that your senators and your campus presidents are all here to work on your behalf. Please continue another successful year of communication. Bring us any of your concerns. Our job is to represent you, work on your behalf so that we can continue to collaborate positively with our faculty and our leaders. And just making it another positive and productive academic year. So on that note, I will introduce our President Crow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, and have a chance to kick off this part of our academic year. You know, when I travel around in the summer, people always say to me, they say, well, you guys still open in the summer? Or what do you do during the summer, they'll say to me. Like, what do you do? Mostly I look for perfect Chicago dogs. You know, I just search all over the world for Chicago dogs. No, not really, but it's just strange that people don't realize this is a 365-day a year, 24-hour-a-day institution. We have students learning with us from 195 different countries through what we call digital immersion. We have students that are engaged with us in every possible way from everywhere. It's just quite remarkable. We have researchers all over the planet all the time working in the field, working on projects. We've got kids in the lab and faculty members in the lab 24 hours a day sometimes when they're crashing and, you know, really kicking it hard on certain kinds. So we're always, I don't know why the microphone's cutting in and out, but it is. And so here comes a new one possibly. Seeing it on its way. Let me say also that this is a moment in time where thank you. This is a moment in time where we sort of assess where we are. So our fiscal year ends on June 30th and starts on July 1st, which is the old academic time frame for getting ready for an August or September start to an academic year in the way that universities have run in the past. And so it's easy for us to look back and say, well, how have we done? How have the faculty and the staff done at the university, and how are we doing? Well, I know it's kind of a broken record, and if you went back and looked at the last 7 or 8 of these talks that I've given at this assembly at the beginning of the fall semester of each of the last 7 or 8 academic years, you'd say, he always says the same thing, all records were broken. It was true then, and it's still true now. Give or take a couple students, 14,000 first-year students. Also known in the past as freshmen, never known as freshmen going forward. I'm beating that out of my mind. First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Freshman is just too archaic of a term, too gender-centric of a term, and we just need a new way to describe the kids that are coming in directly from high school, first-year students. First-year student class is record number of Arizonans, unbelievable growth in kids from Arizona, record applications, record rate of growth of applications, fantastic out-of-state attendance, fantastic international student attendance. Lots of complexities in the international space based on some emails I just read this afternoon, but nonetheless, lots of positive things that are happening. In addition to those 14,000 students, oh, by the way, including our online students, another 20,000 first-time students ever to attend ASU signed up for ASU and are taking classes either on campus or online this semester. So here's where we're ending up. About 75,000 students in full immersion, technology-enhanced, on-campus learning environments in our multiple configurations of the university throughout principally what we call the metropolitan campuses, including the 4 that are represented here, number 1. Number 2, we have another 50,000, give or take, digital immersion, technology-enhanced online learners. Those are people pursuing degrees. Now, this will shock you. This will shock you. Almost 15,000 are STEM majors. We watched a video today, it's probably the 5th time I've watched it, produced by some of our molecular sciences faculty on their own as a way to get back at some poorly trained, culturally unaware deans of admissions at law schools who are saying, medical schools, who are saying, well, how can a kid from an online program be admitted to a medical school? Well, one, first, look to your inner self and understand yourself as ignorant. And then once you've done that, watch this video, which at least the local one that we produced, and I think I tried to send one out to most of you that had a fewer number of students. The kids that are in this class are 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. One was an electrician's mate on a nuclear-powered submarine. One was a med tech EMT that flew on helicopters rescuing people from near-death experiences. You know, just position after position after position after position, all majoring in our brand new online biochemistry degree. And they were on campus for one of 2 weeks that they have to show up on campus in a 2-year period for an intensive, full-in, all-in lab experience. And our faculty decided to produce this video to show these med school admission deans who these people were, who they said didn't have enough experience talking or communicating with other people, didn't know how to solve problems as a part of teams. And it was just unbelievably embarrassing to think that academics of high intellect, high education, and high income could actually hold views based on no facts whatsoever. So 75,000 on campus, what we call full immersion, technology enhanced on campus learners. About what, Mark, a 2.5% enrollment increase in that group to about 2.5, almost 3%. And that's, by the way, bucking the national trends where you're seeing enrollment decline in a lot of schools. And if you look at applications, there's also substantial increases in diversity, substantial increases in incoming student quality, unbelievable increases in particularly the highest performing students from high school, from families of every income level. We think that something has happened relative to the way that ASU is now perceived. We believe for right reasons or wrong reasons, good reasons or bad reasons, we can't tell. But we've transited into the notion of ASU is one of the national universities that you think about sending your kid to, like UCLA, like Ohio State, like Michigan, like Purdue, like Illinois, like Texas. But here's one difference. We have the capability of scaling. We still admit students that come, and we will for as long as I'm here, that come with B averages, that is, they're fully qualified. And we have fantastic opportunities for you to advance your life upon getting here. So we think that's happened, and that's happened in a big way. I think we had 60,000 applicants, give or take, for our freshman class, or for our first year class. And so that's a huge, huge change for us, tremendous thing. So record applications, record diversity, record enrollment, record engagement, record fundraising. So some of you have been involved in fundraising, and so fundraising has been a thing. When I took office, the institution was raising 30 million, 40 million a year. We closed the fiscal year June 30th, 2019, $413 million of closed fundraising from over 110,000 individuals and institutions. I mean, like, unbelievable. So this is the 5th year in a row of record fundraising. We never had a digit above a 200 million plus ever before. We've only had those for 4 years. It was not so long ago we couldn't get to a 1 as the first digit, and we just got to a 4 as the first digit. And so this is a huge achievement for the institution. We believe that the faculty and the staff will together, in the year that ended June 30th, have performed about $650 million of funded research. And I get a lot of mail, about this much, you're stupid mail. True, you know, and about this much, you need to be smarter mail, and about this much mail that says things are going pretty well, and about this much mail that says here's some better ideas for you. And so over here on this side, I get a lot of criticism for our talking about this notion of research expenditures. Like, why do we care about research expenditures? We care about research expenditures because highly selective, elite faculty institutions talk about how competitive their faculty are against other faculty. So we're very happy that we are now among the most research active, most heavily funded faculty members. Some of our faculty, about half of our faculty, slightly less, have research funding, and that is from the outside, and about half of our faculty do their research and their scholarship with the university's resources, and so that's fantastic. But it means that we are competitive against all other faculties. Now, why do we say that? Because we still live in a world, sadly, and I'm going to read you something in a second that's going to verify this is true. We live in a world where our brother and sister institutions that are out there, there is something wrong with them. They think that somehow the world is a function in terms of academic quality, again, of the students that you don't admit. So, record everything, thank you. We're not one of those institutions, and I brought something to read. A small little thing that got my blood boiling. So the title of this book review is Yale Professor Frets About a Waning Aristocracy. And the book review is written by Michael Roth, who's the president of Wesleyan University. The last football game I saw my son play in was Wesleyan versus Bowdoin. Bowdoin lost. He played for Bowdoin. And he's writing a review of a book by Anthony Kronman, who has been in his life the dean of the Yale University Law School, now teaches the Great Books Humanities program at Yale, who's beloved on campus according to this, and sees pernicious changes all around him. This is from Mr. Roth's review, where once there was respect for human greatness and superior achievement, he now sees the desire for equality undermining the school's essential mission. That mission, Cronin Kronman believes, depends on embracing aristocracy, the original meaning of which is rule by the best. The mission of Yale, which Kronman somehow assumes is the mission of higher education more generally, is to separate out superior individuals who have the ability to contemplate the enduring questions, the meaning of life. These exemplary human beings participate in a conversational community, quotes, on islands of excellence in a democratic sea. Give me a break. And so this is what Professor Kronman, who is going to hear from me, believes. That the democratic sea that we live in is one defined by nothing. And that the role of higher education is to be an island of excellence in that sea. So islands are small vestiges of elevation surrounded by massive, basically, sameness. Imagine that. And he goes on to say, these beautiful souls, these people at these universities, are threatened by, quote, the tide of egalitarianism on America's campuses, which has reached unprecedented heights, end quote. I mean, this dude should have been alive back before the revolution because he would have fit in perfectly and would have, with the other Tories, exited the country once control of the country was gained. And so it turns out, for those of you that might be surprised by this, we don't have this theory of life or theory of action. We actually believe and operate under the premise that somehow the democracy is empowered and enlightened not by islands of excellence, but by land masses of excellence, by amalgamations of human beings that come together and work together and learn to work together to evolve the human spirit to the highest level of creativity, to the highest level of intellectual understanding, to the highest level of philosophical transformation, to the highest level of democratic attainment that humans have ever had the opportunity to experience. These islands of excellence thing, this didn't work. It doesn't work. It can't work because it produces two types of people. Those that apparently have the wisdom to, as he suggests, somehow create these islands of excellence and move forward on a range of being what he refers to as superior beings. He refers to them as superior beings. There are no superior beings. They're only different beings. Different but equal beings. Each of us unique. And so we buy into this here, but this is the tide that we fight against. This is the logic that we fight against, because going back to then this notion, oh, by the way, we did beat Yale in research funding. I'm very happy to tell you. We did. Now, my father-in-law went to Yale, my sister-in-law went to Yale, and in fact, two of my sisters-in-law went to Yale, and one of their husbands went to Yale. Yeah. So I talk to them about this all the time. And so it's not that we don't need great universities like Yale University, we do. It's not that we don't need great institutions filled with great faculty and hand-picked students to create unique learning environments, all fantastic. We need all of that. But that's not all that we need, and that's not the solution. In fact, that's not the solution for much of anything. The poverty rate, by the way, in the community that surrounds Yale University is nearly 40%. University's been there for 300 years. The state of Connecticut is unbelievably wealthy everywhere but its cities, where poverty is endemic. And so it is the case that we need to think through, what do we want our universities to do? Now, this is a private university, obviously. and they can do whatever they want, and their deans can say whatever they want, but we decided to take a different path. And so let's just take a look at that. If I can go to the first slide. There won't be anything new here. That would be where we are and my name. But our charter. This charter wasn't written by Anthony Kronman, because Anthony Kronman doesn't believe in this. He doesn't believe that a university should be measured on who they include and how those students succeed. He doesn't believe that the university should be taking responsibility for the success of the communities that they serve. Now, again, that's a private school. Okay, have at it. Think of it like an academy or an honors college. Oh, we have one of those also. Pretty good one. And so we've decided that a public university needs to do this. Now, not very many of you opened, do I click this for the video? Yeah. Not very many of you opened this, so I'm going to bother you with it one more time. Do I click it again? One of the things I noticed in my travels around academia was this increasing separation from society. You know, harder and harder to translate what the university was doing, harder and harder for kids that were hardworking kids with B averages from high school to find a pathway. What we have found, and this is something that I learned the hard way here myself, was that we, the educators, have been those that have created these disparities. We've created these disparities by not figuring out how to educate across the spectrum of our society. We narrow, we pick, we select. So long as we do that, we're going to get these very disparate outcomes. And so we're trying to work against those outcomes.
When we say an institution that's accessible and defined by who we include and not exclude, what we're also saying is that we're an institution that represents the world.
We can talk about individual potential, but without thinking seriously about systems attached to that, it's not really going to work, because it's not really true that anyone can grow up and be anything. So some kid whose parents are Rhodes Scholars fundamentally has a different pathway to life and success than some kid who's working at McDonald's.
We're ensuring that those that are ready are able to participate, regardless of ethnicity, background, zip code, resource, lack thereof. Kids are able to be on this campus and make it their own and understand that they can go to college, they can graduate from college, and they can find viable careers to sustain themselves and others.
A public university takes on a social objective, a social change and economic change objective, trying to find a way at scale to impact society at large.
The challenges societally and globally are so significant that if we are not an institution that is playing a critical role in solving those problems, then we are not going to be relevant for the long term.
In everything that we do, we ask ourselves a question, what can we do better for humanity? And take our role in society to be one where we are here to serve.
We engage our students at all levels and our faculty in developing new knowledge, new solutions, new designs that are really going to make a big difference in the big areas that the world needs right now.
We want our scholarship, our research, and our output to have an immediate benefit at a local level to solve a problem right here. Even bolder, to say, hey, can our graduates, can our work at this institution have an impact upon the 7 billion? So that's in our lexicon, that's in our language, and it is in our culture.
I'm trying to find every means, every tool, every innovation we can possibly create to now take that notion of the success of the individual student and then apply that to every person that we touch, furthering the development of our society, furthering the development of each and every individual in our society. If we can pull that off, then we have figured out what a public university is supposed to be. That's that's an attempt on our part to find a way to condense this message of why we exist and what we're trying to do into a small 3.5-minute message. I'm going to come to this quote here in a second, but before I come to that quote, it turns out that not everybody's paying attention to what's going on in our society. So we're
Hi, Michael Crow here, President ASU. I want to welcome on behalf of our entire staff and faculty.
Sorry, I do a lot of videos, and so you might not be fully picking up on, or you might be picking up on the wrong signal about the angst against universities. It is accelerating like many of us have never seen or imagined was even possible. Some polls that were just released in the last month are unbelievable. A slight majority of the population believes that universities are useful for the future of the United States. A majority of people registered as Republicans, and this is not for whatever simplistic reason some of you might think that somebody holds this view. They don't believe that universities are important to the success of the United States. That's a third of the adult population. Doesn't believe that. Those are big deals. But it's not for what people, it's not only for the reason that we seem to be underserving or that we seem to be under impacting or that we seem to cost too much or we seem to generate this massive debt without many people graduating as a sector. It's also out and out sick of it. Sick of this. These are unbelievably tax-supported institutions. It might be through donations and the people that don't pay taxes on the donations that they receive, but these are still tax-supported institutions because all those taxes could have gone into something else and they didn't. They went to this. And so this little quote that I made in the video, we the educators have created disparities by not figuring out how to educate across the spectrum of our society. We have not figured that out. We're trying to figure it out here. There's a few other places trying to figure it out. There's a lot of frontline schools that are in the game trying to figure this out. And here's the world that we live in when we do this. The critique for our taking on this mission is serious. Why would you do that? Why would you take kids like you take? We've actually lost track of what it takes to do university level work. We have some sense of that. And so this is a thing which we are trying to work against these outcomes. So we still live in a society for all that we have achieved, where 20% to 25% are not graduating from high school, where more than 50% that start college have no degree or no certificate whatsoever, where we have approaching $2 trillion of debt for students, most of whom have no degree, the majority of whom have no degree. How do we make all these things work? How do we address these things? How do we make them happen? You got to rethink the design. You got to rethink the institution. You got to worry about, can you assemble a research grade faculty, you all? Can you bring that faculty together with a broad cross-section of students from every family demographic imaginable? Can you bring those two things together and can you make that institution work? Well, right now, we're making it work. And right now, we're making progress. So my message to all of you is thank you for all that you do to help make this happen. Thank you for what you do to help make this mission possible. We're continuing to make progress. We will continue to make progress beyond this, and we're very excited to be able to do this and be able to make these things happen. So we're going to turn to questions or comments now, right?
Thank you, President Crow. You have time for some questions?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll go ahead and start with Simeen Levinson, our president on the downtown campus. Do you have a question for President Crow?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Donna. President Crow, thank you for your remarks on ASU's recent accomplishments and current stellar standing. The presence of ASU at the downtown campus continues to expand as it supports the overall growth of ASU. New building construction is being planned, and some are already in progress at this campus. The new Biomedical Research Center and a new residence hall are two of the projects on our radar. It's also exciting to learn that there are innovative ASU programs, such as some of those in the Herberger Institute, that are slated to move to the downtown campus. Can you comment on the building and the relocation projects and some of the strategies in place for managing the growth and expansion of this campus and how these and perhaps other planned projects fit into the overall growth, vision, and mission of the university?
Thank you. So we have three major building projects on the downtown campus that we're advancing. That is, they're either under construction now or will be under construction shortly. That is, they're budgeted, approved, and in motion. The first is a private-public partnership, a 3P deal that we're doing with a group out of Philadelphia called Wexford, and we're building a research building there. We're taking about half that space for the university and our faculty to expand their wet lab and scientific research space, and then about half of that space will be used to attract and grow companies in that same laboratory environment. And so this has worked in Philadelphia, it's worked in other cities. That building is adjacent to the Phoenix Biomedical Campus, which we share with the University of Arizona, Northern Arizona University, and the Translational Genomics Research Institute. A second building that we're building on the downtown campus, which begins construction shortly, if not already, is a new residence hall with a private sector partner also. This new residence hall will be built immediately adjacent to the YMCA on land that the university bought a couple of years ago. On that site, that residence hall will have, I don't remember the exact number, 300 to 400 students that will be living there, but they'll be living there to also generate their own ideas for a film company, an artistic, expressive, or creative company or enterprise, a business, something else. A lot of students want to go to college while they're doing other things. You might say, well, kids should only go to college and do one thing. I'm like, okay, that might have worked for you. It might not work for this person. And so we have a different trail, if you will, for different students who want to move in different ways. Another building that begins construction soon in downtown Phoenix, fully designed now, is the Thunderbird School of Global Management headquarters, which will be built immediately adjacent to the law school. And then I think we have, you mentioned Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. We have a large number of projects, some of which we can talk about, some of which we can't talk about, that are likely to go beyond things that we've already expanded in downtown Phoenix. We have an MFA studio program in downtown Phoenix in the Warehouse District. We have other programs and facilities and activities going on with various artistic and musical organizations in and around downtown Phoenix. Those are all likely to expand and to continue to evolve. And then I'll also add, it's not in downtown Phoenix, but in downtown Mesa. We're almost through the design phase of the new facility that will be also related to the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, which is a new digital media creativity center, a global scale facility that we're putting at the end of the light rail in downtown Mesa through our partnership with the city of Mesa. Those are 4 significant facilities that will all be under construction. They're not the only ones under construction, but 4 under construction shortly, including those 3 in downtown Phoenix. We're also continuing to look at how we can continue to evolve all aspects of the downtown Phoenix campus for the success of our students and our programs that are located on that site.
Thank you very much. We have no further questions downtown.
Thank you, Samin. I'll go ahead and move over to our Polytechnic campus. And Yun, do you have a question for President Crow? Yun?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead, please.
So we would like to have comments from Dr. Crow regarding our 2020 health benefits pricing and then related changes.
Right, so I don't know if I have all of the details on the 2020 health benefits pricing and all of the changes, but I can give you our basic logic, and maybe Mark, I don't know if you know where we're going with that, but yeah, so I do know that in the 17 years that I've been here, the cost of health insurance has gone up every single year. We have limited or had no transfer of that additional cost to employees for 17 years. There's been a couple of adjustments in the program and some other things, but we work very hard to keep that cost as low as possible by absorbing that cost in the university's overall operating budget. So I'm not aware of any measurable change in the basic structure. Deductibles are changing. That might be driven by our insurance carriers and not by us, who we're in constant argument with. I will say that we're attempting by every means necessary, and I hope that people are listening to this in other parts of Arizona, to get out of the mandatory situation that we're in, where we are required to purchase medical insurance and health insurance from a set of state located, that is a set of state providers. We would rather have our own system, our own partners. In the best of all worlds, we would have health clinics on every campus dealing with all of the basic stuff that would be available to all staff. They'd be able to take care of all the small things and other things that they need. It turns out that where you have that, you get a much healthier workforce, you get a much healthier set of outcomes, and then your overall insurance costs for major things go down because you're able to deal with chronic issues, or, you know, if you need help on this or help on that, or, you know, monitoring your blood pressure or working on something like that, you can do all of that a little bit easier through those kinds of systems. We haven't found a way to be authorized to do that, but it is a significant political objective of ours to attain that.
Thank you, Yun. I'll go ahead and ask Ken on West Campus if he has any questions for President Crow.
Yes, thank you for taking questions, President Crow. We were wondering here at the West Campus if you could speak to how ASU is working to meet the 2025 goals that were set out for the university.
So the 2025 goals are the goals established for our performance by the Arizona Board of Regents. We negotiate those with the board. We interact with those. Those change a little bit now and then over time, but they've been in place for the last few years. Our 2025 goals continue to look like this. 32,000 graduates, we're around 25,000 or so. More than $800 million of funded research activity. We're at 650 or so along that pathway. More than 16,000 high need graduates, a certain number of STEM graduates. These are things that the board has articulated as our most important. We are making substantial forward progress on nearly all of those goals. We have a 2025 goal of above a 90% freshman retention rate. We're a hair below that for Arizona residents. That is for first year students. We're 4 points below that for overall, something like that. 3.2 points below that, so that's huge progress. We have a very difficult goal for us that is kind of a mystery, is our 6-year graduation rate, which we've set for 2025 at 85%. We have done massive things to drive up our 4-year graduation rate, and we're now competing against all the other we're competitive with at the same level of performance as the handful of major research universities, Purdue, Michigan State, Iowa State, Oregon State, places like that, that admit A and B students to the first year class. So we're performing at or above that level. In fact, we're tied basically for first with the 3 leaders. Our 6-year rate still lags that, and we don't fully understand the reasons. We don't know if there are artifacts about if you step out of the university for one semester, according to this data, you're not any longer counted as a graduate of the institution if you step out for one semester. If you do this or this or this, and so there's all kinds of things that are peculiar to us we're still trying to look at. We do know that we have more than an 80% graduation rate of students that start as first year students here by the 8th year. And so that's a very high number. That's a very high number, believe it or not. And so we're happy about that. But so we've got some goals that we are well on our way to exceeding, and some goals that we're still figuring out where we're headed. But all in all, our 2025 goals are within our sight. Now, every day I wake up, I'm never quite sure whether or not there's some, like what I call big wave tsunami that I didn't know existed the day before. And I've never felt that very, very much in the past. But I do feel that now. And I feel that now because I listen to people saying things that I find hard to believe that they're actually saying. And I'm not talking about one particular person. And so, I mean, seriously, I mean, I just hear things that I've never heard. And I'm just like, I'm not quite sure always how to process, you know, somebody saying this or somebody saying that, or this is going to happen or that is going to happen. And so, notwithstanding, you know, what they call the 100-foot rogue wave that comes from nowhere that you don't even know why it hit you, we're on track. 100-foot rogue waves, we're getting ready for that also, because if we get hit by one of those, we want to then be able to respond and be resilient to whatever hits us along the way. So we're taking financial steps and planning steps and other kinds of things to ensure that we can take some pretty serious hits if we have to. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'll go ahead and ask Carolyn Harrison. Thank you. It's working this time. Thank you, Dr. Crow. We have a question about, there's a number of different ways we're beginning to bring students in rather than the traditional route through high school, such as the earned admission program.
yeah.
Can you speak to the success of those, and particularly if we have any information on retention rates for those programs?
Well, good point and a good question. So now the ways into the university, in fact, the complex environments that we're operating in. So we have normal high school admission, never been to college before. You might have some community college credits. You might come in with some college credits, but you're coming right out of high school. So that's going very well for us. We have record retention, record graduation, record diversity, as I mentioned earlier. We also have a second way into the university, which is to transfer into the university after being at largely and mostly community colleges. We now have record transfer numbers, record graduation numbers, and I think our graduation rate for a student that starts in a community college and finishes with us is in the mid-80s. It's a very high rate, very high rate. We have a third route now into the university that's not an experiment, but it's still a low-key pathway that we're trying to figure out how it works. So let's say, I don't know if this ever happened to any of you, but let's say that, you know, you were 18 years old and your country called and you joined the Air Force. And off you go to the Air Force. And you were served in the Air Force and you had your 3 deployments to the Middle East in your first 4 years. And then you got out for a year and then they called you back. You had 3 more deployments and all of a sudden you're 25 years old. And, you know, you don't really completely remember what your high school algebra class was like, and you know, you took an SAT test the day that you had a football game and you left the test early, like I did. And so, because I had to go to this football game, so I didn't do part of it. And so your score was, let's say, not capable of getting into ASU, and your high school diploma is not capable of getting into ASU. There's no way to redo that high school grade point. There's no way to redo that SAT score. If your grade point is so low, you can't be admitted to ASU. You don't want to go to the community college, and so what do? Well, if you're working at Starbucks now, you and 3,000 of your colleagues are on what we call a college pathways program. You're taking what we call the 400-hour or 800-hour SAT test. You're taking 4 courses, the ones you would expect, English and math and so forth, and you're going to see if you can earn your way into ASU by getting a B or an A in those courses. If you get a B or an A in those courses and it looks like everything's, you know, square, we'll admit you. And how many have we admitted? 300? 300 to 400. And what we know about them so far, we haven't been doing this very long, is they have an average grade point above 3.6. I think that's sort of where we are. So it turns out that that may be a new pathway. We have a couple of other things that we're working on. We have an experiment going on in Los Angeles right now called ASU Local. So ASU Local is basically a form of the projection of ASU online into communities in particular where students are fully qualified. We're in Los Angeles because of the philanthropy that we have. So there's only 25 students in it. I met with them last Monday in downtown Los Angeles. Of the 25 students in this program, I think only 2 had ever been to downtown Los Angeles, and they're from Los Angeles, just to give you some sense of the complexity of the world that we live in. So these are kids, for the most part, not for the most part, they are fully qualified to go to the public universities in California or the public universities here in Arizona. Many of them, if not all of them, were admitted to one of those schools. And then they didn't go because either their families wouldn't let them go, they didn't believe they had the means to go, their family refused to fill out the financial aid form of the federal government. There was no FAFSA, there was no access to financial aid, there was no way to move forward. Or you may be unhappy to know that over the last few years, admitted students to the California State University system, admitted after admission, have been turned away because they didn't get funding for a particular number of seats. And so in what we call ASU Local, that's what we're calling it for now, the 25 students that we have there, can you take 25 students I think what were the cohort groups maybe going to be 50 or 60? Could you take, we have 25 in this first, could you take 50 students from that situation and in their neighborhood or in their community, could you pop up online, support staff there with them, and a place that they could come to study together and to work together and to talk together and to have counselors and advisors and things like that with all of the faculty content coming from you all? And can we make that work? Now, we're admitting those students to the university because they meet our admission requirements, but it's a completely different pathway into and through the university. So I think that's the extent of our programs, with maybe one exception. We are responding to students who on their own find us, take Global Freshman Academy courses, do exceedingly well in those courses, and want to be admitted after taking those courses. So we've found some students from all over the world that found us in situations that we don't even know how they found us. They did fantastically well and we've admitted them. That's a handful. And so those are now the pathways. So right now, all of that is working. Mark, Provost Searle, do you want to comment on that? Provost Mark Searle is going to comment on these pathways into the university.
Pardon my back. The program's brand new, and most of the students on the earned admission pathway are coming through ASU Online because they're generally older, they're working and so forth, and they're also part-time. And one of the things we've also learned about this, not just with the earned pathway students, but all our online students, is to think of retention the way we think about it for our on-campus students is a mistake. Those students have life, they have other kinds of things, so they might go for 2 semesters, then we may not see them for a semester, and then they'll be back. They may be here for A, but not for B, and so forth. And so we're trying to look at not treating them as ever actually having left, but actually as what we've been calling as our infinity students.
ASU Infinity, you're always a student and we're just warming up for you, you know, all the time.
And so because we're trying to stay in touch with them constantly, and even offering them a 0 credit hour kind of experience where they can be working on career or other kinds of aspirations that they have, to try and keep them engaged so that when they're ready, they can come back and enroll and pursue their education, or take a professional certification from us through our certificate programs or things like that, or continuing in professional education. So we're trying to expand the scope so that students see us as a lifelong source for their needs to learn as life changes for them.
So this is the realms. Full immersion, technology enhanced on campus. That's who we live with, that's who we see, that's who we're interacting with on a daily basis, that's who's wandering around campus, 17,000 of whom live on campus this semester. I mean, this is unbelievable, sort of where we are. That's who, you know, there'll be 10,000 at the football game two nights from now. You know, tremendous engagement with the institution, working, 15,000 of them work at the university for jobs that pay money. And so these are huge. And so we see that as, that part of ASU has done really well. Then this other part, ASU digital immersion, technology enhanced online learning, now online only like these adults, online hybrid like the people coming back to take their chemistry labs, online hybrid like these ASU local students. Now, not to confuse the matter, Carolyn, but to say that there is a big thing that we're working on, which it turns out that we have unbelievable assets within the institution that have been selfishly hoarded for the faculty, our graduate students, and the few undergraduates who could come and learn with us. So we have an unbelievable library. We have unbelievable library assets. It turns out we have unbelievable learning assets, unbelievable learning tools, ways to teach math, ways to teach English, ways to teach writing, ways to teach Spanish, ways to do all these other things. Now imagine you're out there and you don't want a degree. You just want to take something. You want to get a little thing so you can advance in your career. You're 80 years old and you didn't take philosophy and you want to take it now. Because you're healthy as a horse at 80 years old and you're like, what am I going to do? And so you can only spend so much time with your grandchildren. And so, which I have 5 of them now. And so we're evolving, and at some point we'll announce what we trademarked this concept, ASU Universal Learning. And the notion is that we'll have students who pursue degrees in all those categories that I just talked about. And then we'll also have learners, other people that you might know who want access to what we have. We're trying to do all of that so there is no sweat off anyone's brow. It just draws from what we're already doing, with one exception. So we are one of the only major metropolitan areas in the country, comparing ourselves to Seattle, Los Angeles, or New York, 3 places that I've looked at pretty closely, that does not have an elaborate extended and professional education program. So we're going to build, as soon as we can, an elaborate extended and professional education program, which I hope then will allow faculty to have additional opportunities to teach if they want, and additional opportunities for compensation from that model as we evolve that model as it works in other places. And so we're looking to do that also. That would be on the learner side, because that's not for degrees. That's for learning outcomes and learning achievements, maybe certificates and fractional degrees and things like that, none of which we've brought back to the Senate yet, but all of which we eventually will when we have something to talk about. And so that's sort of where we are with all of this. And it's this technology platform that our Ed Plus team has built has been just unbelievable. What it is enabling us to do, what it's able to help us to achieve. And so that's where we're headed with all these things. I apologize for the longer answers, but I didn't want you to think that we mostly spent our time just, looking at forms and signing them over at our office. Only 2 people laughed. So.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additional questions, or do you have time for any additional questions, or are we
Sure.
good?
Yep.
I'll just double check with any of the campuses. So Samin, on downtown campus, do we have any additional questions for President Crow?
We do not have any additional questions. Thank you, Donna.
Okay. Yun on Polytechnic? Yun, do you all have any additional questions?
Oh, you cannot hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, no, we don't have any, we don't have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, any?
We're good.
All right. And then, thank you. Caroline? No? All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a happy, healthy, and productive fall semester, and keep Senate in mind if you have any concerns that we can help you with, please. Take care.